So here's my example of an array. So as I just said, I have this array of potion packages. Okay, it's a variable type is an integer. I have 3 of them, right? I have 3 potion packages. Effectively, think about these like bundle. Like you're at an alchemist in like an RPG, and you're buying like 3 different bundles of packages, and each one of these indicates how many potions you get inside each package. So he sells one that has 7, one that has 8, and one that has 6. Not a very doesn't have a lot of variety in his inventory stuff. It's just potions he sells. So you can see here I'm declaring an array with 3 elements inside of it called potion package, right? And the first element in the array, I'm setting it equal to 7. This represents how many potions are in that bundle. Okay. The second element in the array has 8 potions in it. The third has 6 potions in it. Okay. Questions on this? They're all using the same array name. You can see here they're all named the same. The only difference here is the index that I'm using. I then create another array called potion costs. So this I want to show you there are multiple ways to actually initialize your array. So here I have an array called potion costs. And sometimes you don't want to declare each element of the array on a separate line like this. Sometimes you just want to do it what's called inline. You want to do it all at once. And this is another syntax that you can use to initialize elements in an array. You can specify inside a set of curly braces the values of the array in incrementing order as long as they're separated by commas inside. These two, the 2 ways I'm declaring and assigning the arrays are effectively the same. Okay? It's just your choice. We tend to only do this when we're initializing stuff to 0. We don't tend to do this when we have something like, we tend to be actually more explicit. We value having more clarity with what you're trying to initialize as opposed to doing it inline. So if I were doing this, I'd probably do it more like this. Doing it like this, while it's shorter for you, it actually tends to make it a little bit more obfuscated, especially if you have a lot of elements. For instance, if I had 10 elements inside of it, and I want to change the 4th index of it, you literally have to count, like you're in grade school, to the 4th element to find it. So let me show you what that looks like. This is the reason why we don't tend to do it this way. For instance, if I had 10 elements and I wanted to initialize them, like so, like which one of these is index 7, right? You actually have to count to get to 7. While with the previous method, you can just see what the index is. That's the only reason, like, it's shorthand, but it tends to get a little bit messy when you have any more than like a few elements. Okay?
So do the inline if you don't have a lot of elements.
Yeah, or you can actually initialize your array. If you put like 0 here, you'll actually initialize your entire array to that number. But yeah, you can do this if you have a short number of elements and you really are kind of pressed for space. Okay, so let's go over. I actually want to go over how this thing works. We're going to do this. So I'm going to run this program and count. All I'm going to do is count how many potions I have total. So you guys can see here, I am accessing element of the array at 0, at index 0, at 1, and at 2, and I'm literally just adding them all together. Okay? And you can see it's up to 21, so that is 6 plus 7 plus 8. So it's adding all 3 of these numbers together, right? So it's pretty straightforward to actually just add these things together. Let me go over this one too. I can do the same thing with the potion package. I can get a single value out of it, and I can get the cost associated with that too. So here's potion costs. So I'll see that the package with 8 potions costs 30 cents per potion, right? All right. So here's the other part. I can actually take the elements and I can just multiply them together to find the total cost if I were to buy all the potion packages together. So I'm taking potion package at index 0, I'm multiplying it by the costs at index 0. And then I take the package at index 1 and I multiply it by the costs at index 1. So all I'm really doing is I'm using the array variables and I'm picking the elements out of the array that I care about. And I'm going up in order. So I'm starting at 0, I'm going to 1, and then I'm going to 2, and I'm multiplying them together and then adding them all up. So I'm effectively taking this element, multiplying it against this element. Then I take this element and multiply it against this element, and this element multiplied against this. It's effectively just multiplying the cost against how many potions are there to find out the total cost of the potions. So if I were to buy 410, or sorry, if I were to buy all of them, it would cost 410 gold. All right. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to put this up on the Zool. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do too. There's an interesting operation that you can use in C++ that does come in handy. It's called the size of operation. It's kind of not really a function. It's more of like a built-in keyword. And what size of does, it tells you in bytes how big something is in C++, which oftentimes is useful for academic purposes because you can see here I'm using size of on the potion package array. So I'm actually using the variable here, and I'm using size of on the potion package at a specific index. So the first will tell me how big that array is in bytes, the size of it. The second one will tell me how big one specific element is. So the reason why it's useful, and most oftentimes it's used in this case, there's other cases that you use it for like network traffic. So for Overwatch, when we're doing all of our multiplayer traffic, a lot of times you need to pack data in a very specific way. And how you pack it, you need to know how big the data is that you're packing. But in this case, it's actually, I kind of want you guys to see, there's actually a way to use this keyword in a useful way for programming for games too. Look at the size of my package array, it's 12 bytes. Look at how big each individual element is. What can I figure out from those two pieces of information? If I take those two pieces of information, what can I see without actually knowing anything else? If I just looked at these two, if you look carefully, you can actually see that you can tell how many elements are in this array. You can tell that there are 3 elements in the potion package array. Can you guys see why I know that?
Yeah, 3 times 4 is 12.
Yeah, because the array takes 12 bytes, right? And every element in the array takes 4 bytes itself. So if I take the whole size of the thing, the entire array, and divide it by the size of one of them, I get 3, right? So I get 3 elements. So it tells me actually how big they are. Watch the thing change as I increase the size of this. If I increase this thing to be like 1,200 elements, the size of the array is 4,800 bytes, right? But I know that there are 1,200 because I can just take the number 4,800, divide it by 4, and I get 1,200 elements in the array. So that's actually how you do it. So watch me change this so I can actually print out the number of elements in the array. Okay. So see what I'm doing? I'm taking this, which was this, dividing it by the size of a single element, and I will get back the number of elements in the array. Okay. Okay. So let's do this. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to add another package to this array. It's going to have 10 potions in it, and it's going to cost 40 cents per potion. However, I also want you to change this code. So I'm going to put this up in Zool right now. It's called array health pot. Let me do this. And what I want you to do is, instead of doing this by hand, I want you to actually want you to use a loop here. Okay, it's up on Zool now. I want you to use a loop here to actually count how many total potions you have. And then a loop to calculate the total expense. That is, how much it would cost to buy all the packages. Okay? So I want you to add a fourth potion package, and I want it to cost 40 cents per potion. What I want you guys to do. So grab the file off of Zool. It's called Array Health Pot. Open up in Visual Studio. Make sure it runs first. I would copy it into Visual Studio. Make sure it runs and compiles, and then you can actually do this part here.